How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Manatee Gaming. Today we are going to be looking at killing some frost dragons. This is a money-making method that's been very popular for a very long time, and today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to kill these and get a ton of money per hour because the bones are very expensive. Let's go ahead and jump on into this video, but right before we do, remember that we have a Discord server with over 11,000 Runescape players, and we'd love to have you in there. So if you'd like to come in and learn how to make over 10 billion plus per month, then yeah, go ahead and hop on in. That's really all I gotta say, right? Remember to smack that like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already, because the only way the channel continues to grow is if you do that, so that's a really great way to support the channel. Anyway guys, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright everybody, so this money-making method has gotten better and better over time, and the price of the bones just continues to be pretty expensive, so I don't really know when this method is going to die. I have no idea if it ever is going to. Maybe if something comes out, just dumps a ton of frost dragon bones in the ground, I have no idea. But as long as people want to train prayer and everything else, then it looks like frost dragons are going to be viable, so let's go ahead and jump into the equipment and gear and everything. That way you can see what's going on in this setup. This setup will allow you to kill quite a few frost dragons per hour, anywhere from 700 to 800 per hour, maybe even more, which will net you a pretty hefty sum of cash, which I'll show you towards the end. So what we're going to need to do first is have our very basic things unlocked. We need to have frost dragons unlocked themselves, which is required to have level 85 in your dungeoneering. The next thing you're going to want to have is going to be your relic. In order to make this as fast as possible, you do need the Death Note Relic. So it does require quite a high level in your archaeology, so that is something that will probably take you a little bit longer. And it is very, 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 very worthwhile though, because it makes it so that all guaranteed bone drops are noted. That means that when you go kill frost dragons, you don't got to pay any attention at all with the other item we're going to combine this with. But before we leave our relic page here real quick, I'm going to show you some other things you're going to want to use too. Berserker's Fury is going to be absolutely fantastic here because we are going to be using tendrils on our combat bar, on our ability bar, which means we're going to be taking some damage inflicted by ourselves. We might also take a little bit of damage from the frost dragons themselves, so sitting at not full health will make it so Berserker Fury makes it so you do some extra damage. If you do not want to do that, if you want to play a more safe method, you can always not use tendrils and, you know, just don't use Berserker's Fury. If we look at the last one here, I've got Inspire All because I want that combat XP, but if you don't care about the combat XP, you can also use Fury of the Small. It's another really great option to use here. The next thing we all are going to need, and this is also a required item, this is actually more required than the Death Note Relic, so if you don't have Death Note, then at least make sure you have this. You're going to need to have your upgraded Bone Crusher. And once you have the upgraded Bone Crusher, you can click on your Bone Crusher, and then when you go through here, basically, instead of being dropped, any selected bones that are dropped unnoted will be instantly buried and you will gain the experience of burying them. And if you come down here, auto pick up unselected bones. So if we do not have our frost dragon bones selected right here, as you can see, then this will automatically put them in our inventory. If you combine that with the Death Note Relic, that means that you will automatically have all of these frost dragon bones noted and added to your inventory, which makes this awesome because then you can just pay attention to killing everything as fast as possible and DPSing all the dragons to the ground. That is going to make life so much easier than what it used to be. Going into our inventory setup, as far as our gear, the gear is honestly going to be pretty simple. You just want to have some basic combat perks on your armor, like Crackling 3, and Scavenging is also a really great option to get some extra components while you're doing this, but whatever you have for your combat stuff on your armor is going to be fantastic. And I am choosing to use range on these guys, and I'm going to be using a Nox bow. And then if I'm using a Nox bow, I'm going to be using the Dragon Bane arrows. You can alternatively just use something else like magic if you want to for your entire setup, or you can just go ahead and use crossbows or whatever. It doesn't really matter because these things do die really fast. So if you have maxed out combat, the types of stuff you use is really not as relevant. One of the main reasons I do like using range though is because in your Essence of Finality, you are able to use the Dark Bow. So the Dark Bow ability in your Essence of Finality will be fantastic because it will almost always, actually I've never actually not one-hit killed a dragon with Dark Bow, so it's basically always a one-hit kill, so that is definitely really great to speed things up. Also too, my Nox bow here doesn't have any abilities on it because I don't really use the Nox bow anymore, but if you are planning on using Nox bow, as I usually do in these videos where I will use a little bit lower gear than top gear, then just make sure you've got some basic perks on there too. You can simply look at the wiki and look at the best perks to use. When it comes to your ring slot, you just want something that does damage, so I've got the Ring of Death here also in case I accidentally die and kill myself because of the fact that I'm using tendrils and a bunch of other stuff, or I orb and get knocked out, then at least I've got Ring of Death, but you can use whatever you want to in terms of that. As far as the rest of the armor pieces go, it's literally just whatever you want to. Instead of the Ava's Alerter, you're definitely going to want to use a Max Cape if you have that. I don't have it back yet because Necromancy, and then the Enhanced Nightmare Gauntlets is what I'm going to be using for my armor, my hand slot in this one. Do not use the Cinderbanes, as the Cinderbanes will not be able to poison them because they're immune to poison. When it comes to the Scripture or the book slot, I'm going to be using Scripture of Jazz because it just does really high damage to a single target and helps me knock them out even quicker. And then when it comes to your aura slot, the best thing you can possibly use is going to be Reckless, and Reckless also combines with our Berserker Fury to make it so that we are taking a little bit more damage and lowering our health. That combined with Tendrils will make sure that we are using that Berserker Fury and doing more damage. If you do not want to use that, you can also alternatively use Penance. That way you can just keep on smacking up a Soul Split whenever you need some healing, or really whatever else you want to use that's related to doing a little bit more damage. But the main focus here is just being able to do more damage. When it comes to our inventory setup, we do not use the Archaeology Master Cape, so just ignore that. I just had that up there so I can switch my relic powers. We're going to be using a Spring Cleaner. We're also going to be using a Steel Titan Pouch. You can alternatively use a Ripper Demon. You can put scrolls in these guys if you want to. I don't really care about doing it because they die really fast anyway, so it doesn't really make that big of a difference, but you just want something that does a little bit of extra oomph, and that way you can kill them quicker. I've got Extreme Prayer Potions in here because that allows me to use my Desolation and also just like heal with Soul Split whenever I need to. And like I said before, we're going to be noting them all into one pile, so it leaves you plenty of inventory space to add in all this extra stuff. And then I've got some Ceridon Brew Flasks. That way I can do some healing, but you can replace this whatever you want to. Also good to keep a note when you're fighting the Frost Dragons that they do drop a lot of sharks, so you don't really even need to bring healing if you don't want to, but I'd probably bring something to start you off with at least. And then we got our charms in here. I've also got the Infernal Puzzle Box because the Infernal Puzzle Box makes it so my adrenaline does not drain outside of combat, which is really useful. I will show you during the dungeon because basically when you kill all the Frost Dragons on one side of the room, you run over to the other side of the room, and then this way you don't have to risk losing any adrenaline. That way you can quickly run up there and spec them with a debo, and then yeah, don't gotta worry about losing that. Weapon Poison plus. Go ahead and buy full doses of this, not these 3s I've got here. I just was using them when I was testing the video, but basically this will just add a flat DPS boost, which is always useful. And also to prevent some confusion, Weapon Poison is not the same as poisoning them, so this does work. The Dungeoneering Master Cape is what we're going to be using to get there. So you do need to have this in your inventory. If you do not have a Dungeoneering Cape at all, then you can just simply walk there. They're not that hard to find. They're in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. And then we've got our Elder Overload Salves, but basically you just need something that gives you immunity to Dragonfire as well as giving you some damage boost. So whatever you have to do that, you can go ahead and use as replacements if you do not have Elder Overload Salve. If you're worried about using Elder Overload Salves or Brews or whatever, all this other kind of expensive potions, don't worry about it because they will be dropping you bones that currently are going for over 27,000 each in one single kill, so you will very quickly make back any costs. So there's no reason to hold back any costs involved when it comes to setting yourself up for this method. Enhanced Excalibur and Elven Ritual Shard are kind of the staples here to add some extra prayer and add some extra health whenever we may need it. When it comes to the ability bar, so we're going to be using a single target DPS, max DPS bar. I do a little bit of variation. I'm going to put Snapshot in the front and I'm going to put Rapid Fire afterwards, even though the wiki and everybody would recommend you probably put the Rapid Fire first. I'm going to put Snapshot first. The reason why is because Snapshot, just like Darkbow Spec, will frequently one-hit kill them, so that way you are killing them much faster. The Rapid Fire is just a little bit slower, so yeah, that's why I've got that switched. And then also to the Descent, the Descent of Darkness from the Darkbow is right down there. Alternatively, you actually could just completely remove Rapid Fire from that, and I may actually consider doing that in the future, because Rapid Fire is not really that useful since Snapshot and Descent of Darkness is really all you need to be able to beat them down. And then I also put the Sacrifice at the very end of the bar because every once in a while I get a little bit of a heal from that. You can also remove that too, it's not really necessary. But that is really all you're going to need as far as your bar. Just go ahead and follow that graphic I put right up on the screen if you are missing some of the stuff, and that way you can just adjust it to what you need to do. So in order to get to the Frost Dragons, we're just going to be activating our Dungeoneering Master Cape if you have that one. Otherwise, we're going to be walking to the Ice Dragons. They're pretty easy to find. And then we're going to click on number 8, which is right here, Ice Dungeon, Frost Dragon Dungeon. Seems a little redundant, but we're going to go ahead and go here. Once we get here, we're going to go and simply go into this mysterious entrance. Whoa. Once we are in the mysterious entrance that is so mysterious, wow, it's just so mysterious, guys. We're gonna go ahead and activate our Reckless, because Reckless is up, and then that is going to be our aura of choice, because Reckless, like I said before, is going to be higher DPS by a lot, and this is also going to make it so that we take some more damage, which is going to be really good for our Berserker Fury. Also, too, keep in mind, if you have tendrils in your ability bar like I do, you can also just simply drag it down onto a different ability bar. Even though these ability bars are an absolute mess, just ignore them. Yeah, I'm a noob. And then basically, you're just going to carry these, you're just going to pull this down and off your ability bar whenever you're like, oh, you know what, I don't want to take any more damage, and then you won't take any more damage. But you'll get kind of used to it, and if you are prayer flicking or whatever, then you don't have to worry about it anyway. Just add some extra DPS. It's pretty fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Scripture of Jazz before I get in here, and I'm going to go ahead and summon my my Steel Titan, this cute little Steel Titan right here. I was really hoping I had prayer points, or sorry, summoning points, because if I didn't, that would have been a little embarrassing. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate my Desolation. And then I'm going to sit here and get absolutely toasted by this dragon because I haven't activated my Overload Self. So now that I've got everything going, we're just going to simply run up here, and then we're going to quickly kill them as fast as possible. It's a really good idea to just pay attention to when you've got your snapshot and your Descent of Darkness up there, especially if you are doing manual. But as you can see, while you are killing these guys, we also need to use our weapon poison. But as you can see, while you're killing these guys, they drop really fast. That's kind of what I was saying. It doesn't really totally matter which combat style you use here. I just wouldn't use melee, because melee you'd have to run up to each one of them, and that would cause you to have much slower kills per hour, which is really not what you need. And there we go. Tendrils did reduce our health down, so now we're going to be doing a little bit more damage thanks to Berserker Fury. But overall, I mean, as long as your ability rotation is a little bit better than what I'm currently doing, there's Snapshot for instant kill, and then we can go ahead and Descent on this next one and miss it a little bit, and then instant kill that guy too. And then once you've killed them all, which you can kill them faster than I just did, I'm talking while I'm doing it, which is a little bit difficult, but basically once you've killed that entire room, then you just go ahead and switch over to this room here. And then we're going to kill this one here, and then we're going to make sure to pop our Elven and our Enhanced Excalibur whenever we need to. And that is literally all you do, guys. You're just going to sit back and relax. It's really nice to use a bow here also, aside from the Dragon Bane arrows and Snapshot and everything, Descent in Darkness, is because the fact that the bow has a pretty long range. It's got a little bit longer range than some other weapons, so I do like to use a bow here. And yeah, like I said, keep your health a little bit lower than max, then the Berserker Fury will do its work. Just watch and make sure you don't kill yourself with the tendrils. But that is really it, everyone. That is really it. As you can see, we've already stacked up 13 bones. There's number 14, and then this right here is going to be number 15. So there we go. We've already got 15 bones. If you are killing these really quickly, oh, looks like we actually probably should bring that little spirit gem bag to pick everything up. But if you're killing them pretty quickly and moving along here, you can get anywhere from 700 to 800 kills per hour pretty consistently, and that will rack up a very large sum of money. If we're looking at, let's say you do get the 800 kills per hour, the current price of them is around 27,500 each. That means you're making about 22 million per hour right here. And that is including not picking up any of the loot on the ground. So if you're picking up the loot on the ground, then you might be able to bump that up to like 23 million per hour. Although for the most part, you don't really want to pay attention to loot on the ground, because the fact that picking up the loot on the ground, unless you can area loot it, is honestly just going to make you go a little bit slower, because of the fact you have to run over and pick it up, which you probably could have killed a whole new dragon by then, which is definitely far better than, yeah, looting what, a couple hundred coins on the ground, so. But right there, as you see, area loot, and we don't have space for it, but you get the idea. That is what you're going to be doing. It is a very simple technique. I see a lot of people using the cannon and AFKing here, but the only problem is, though, the cannon gets you about half the kills per hour if you're lucky. So instead of making 23 million per hour, then you're going to be making about 10 million per hour, which is just not as good. I would rather AFK something that's like required to be AFK, and then when you want to come here, then you're just going to be, doing this. There is something else to note, is that if you are aware of Frost Dragons, they have the Reflect ability, where the blue balls go around them. And then when they have the blue balls going around them, then they will do the Reflect ability, which means that if you attack them with that, then you will take an absolutely absurd amount of damage, and you need to make sure that you do not do that. So if you have a high enough DPS, which as you can see, I'm barely trying with just like not paying that much attention while talking to you guys in this video, I am very easily killing them before they even remotely get close to using the blue ball, so it's really easy to avoid. I see quite a few people using a cannon here. Just be careful with using a cannon because it's pretty easy to trigger the blue ball when you're attacking using a cannon, and then you will get absolutely shreked, and that's not good. But alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed this money making guide. This is a very, very simple and easy money making guide that is also pretty fun to do. You can also use this on the dragon cluster tasks and then one other cluster task, I can't remember which one it is, from the Slayer monsters, from the Slayer masters. So this is a really great alternative doing some of the other dragons if you just want to come here and get a quick good amount of money. I think that if you do a full task here, it depends on the size of your task obviously, but I'm pretty sure doing a full task here is something like anywhere from 10 to 12 million from just your task, maybe slightly over that, but let's not be overzealous. Anyway, the point is that you will be able to get some good money on a Slayer task here as well. Alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be trying to make up the next money making guide, that way you guys can make some good money, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.